Welcome to Something to Talk About from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. Happy to have you here today. We're going to be talking about a wonderful group that's been going on for about a little more than 3 years. It's in its fourth year, a walking group for women who are grieving the loss of a partner. And we will talk about that in just a minute, but I would like to first acknowledge that we are meeting on the ancestral homeland of the Suquamish people, the people of the clear salt water who have lived on these Salish sea waters since time immemorial. We continue to learn from their stewardship. We are grateful for their care of these territories, and we are trying to learn to be similar stewards of these wonderful places where we live that are ancestrally theirs. Also, I'd like to thank Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island for sponsoring Something to Talk About. They offer independent living, assisted living, and a vibrant memory care up on Rolling Bay. Find out more and take a tour. Call Celia or Jamie at 206 594 1010, 206 594 1010. It's fieldstonecommunities.com. Marilyn Price Mitchell was the one who reached out to me to talk about how this walking group, which has been going on for a while, is looking at opening up the to the community a little bit more. And I'm interested in finding out about the past and the future of this group. So, Marilyn, thank you very much for agreeing to meet with us today.
Thank you, Reed. Well, let me start by just introducing myself and my co-leader, Nancy Rudman. Our program, as you said, has been going on for, we're going into our fourth year. We now call ourselves Pathways to Healing. And it's a group of women who have lost life partners in the last few years or so. Actually, we're at many phases of the grief journey. Nancy and I have both been widowed ourselves. Nancy 18 years ago, and me 8 years ago, and then before that, 40 years ago. So we both have a long path that we've been walking, and grief isn't something that ends. You learn to, as I always like to say, you learn to carry it. So our program, and Nancy and I are both members of IVC Compassionate Companions program, where we companion individuals through the grieving process. And we both also sing in the threshold choir on the island, singing to people in our local facilities and people who are at the end of life. So, Nancy, I want to turn it over to you to talk about the origins of how all of this got started.
Hey, thank you very much. The origins of this program, it was born out of IVC grief groups, the Island Volunteer Caregiver Grief Groups, because over time, IVC didn't have the capacity for the number of people who were seeking grief support. And then with people coming out of the 8-week group, the 8-week program, many of them felt that they could use some extra support, and were also looking for a way to meet others that are on a similar grief journey, especially the women who had lost life partners. Marilyn and I were both familiar with the healing power of nature. And we both had studied this in our professional lives and recognized the healing power of using nature as metaphor for grief. So it seemed like a natural addition to IVC to offer something different and helpful while filling the need for extra support for the women grieving the loss of their life partners. And we were so fortunate to have Bladel Reserve be very supportive of the program. We're about to begin our fourth year of walks, and it's been so rewarding to see our group grow and blossom as they walk their path to healing. So I'll turn it back to you, Marilyn, for the structure and how the group's evolved.
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about how exactly it's structured. So it has evolved as well. We started out with a group of about 16 women. 3 years ago. And at first we were just walking. We were walking at Bladel every other week. We were, as Nancy said, doing, really focusing on nature. What we do is before each walk, we put out an email and we share a quote or a poem, something that is reflective of nature and the natural environment, but also connects to our sense of self and our sense of those metaphors that can carry us through the grief process and teach us about ourselves. So we do this, and then we also include some reflective questions for the women. And then when we meet at Bladel, we meet very briefly to begin, and then we pair up and start walking together. And in that initial walking, partners check in with each other on how they're doing this week or this month or today, depending on, what's going on with everyone in that moment. And then when we get about halfway through our walk, we usually come into circle together, and then we repeat that quote or that poem and ask who would like to reflect or share their reflections on it. We usually have just a really nice, meaningful conversation. It's always fascinating to me how people reflect on the same quote differently, and how, depending on where they are in that moment. I learned so much from that, from gleaning meaning from other people. And so we usually pause for probably, I would say usually about 15 minutes to do that. And then we pair up again. And oftentimes the conversation on the last half is often a continuation of the reflections, or, just more getting acquainted, whatever comes up, whatever is on your mind. So we began with just the walks, as I said, and then I want to say it was probably maybe a year and a half or so ago, a couple of the women came up with the idea, well, we're only meeting every other week at Bladel. Why don't we meet on the alternate weeks just to have coffee together? And so we started that, and we had a smaller group of folks who really enjoyed doing that, but it was really a great way to bring, the group together more to build friendships. And so now, as we begin to see the program really form as a cohesive program that runs week by week, now we really are encouraging everyone to make it a weekly part of their calendar, and to try as often as they can to show up at coffees. And we know that people travel, and everyone is very certainly accepting and expecting of that. So now we just walk from April through October at Bladel during the good weather months, and then our coffees happen all year, every other week. So Nancy, I want to transfer it over to you again. Just talk briefly about maybe what your reflections are on the benefits of the program, and then we may ask some of these lovely ladies who are on the meeting with us to share some of their experiences as well.
Okay, thank you. The benefits of the program, from walking with these beautiful women, Marilyn and I began to see benefits of the group, but some in ways that we hadn't anticipated. For example, the value for the walkers of being in the presence of women at different stages of grief, ranging from several months to Marilyn's 40-year stage. And that offers, I feel, them a perspective on what the grief can look like in the future, and a measure for reflecting on the early stages of their grief. So it helps on both sides. And other benefits that I see is the developing friendships with those who understand loss of a spouse in ways that no one else really does, and sharing day-to-day challenges that everyone just gets. You don't have to explain yourself. Coming to new awarenesses about their grief journey through sharing with group members their stories and experiences, as well as insights learned through using nature as a metaphor for grief and healing. And the group can gain new perspectives from each other, accepting the grief journey itself with no judgment, no time limits, recognizing that it's not a clear, defined linear path. And from my own perspective, it gives the women permission to be gentle with themselves and to listen to and honor their own needs as they walk their path of grieving. So that's what I have to say. I'd love to hear from some of the walkers. I invite you.
So I'd also like to just ask a couple questions if I could. So the quotes that you come up with, are they from the group, or are they things that you two have collected over the years, or?
We've collected them over the years. They are, they're generally, famous people quotes, famous author quotes, but they're not grief quotes. Okay, so that's sort of the difference here. We don't consider ourselves, it's not a structured grief group. We're not teaching, how to get through grief. We're basically more of a support group, and so we pick quotes that are nature related, that also reach us as people who are grieving. Hope that answers your question, Reed.
Yeah, that is intriguing. Nancy, did you have something to add?
Yeah, we also did invite, we've invited members of the group to, if they would like to bring forward a poem, which they have, and reflections of their own. And also at least one of the members has brought meditations to the group, and maybe that's a part of our doing a walking meditation. So yeah, there's varied input from everybody.
And occasionally Nancy and I do sing. We sometimes bring another threshold choir member, and we do 3-part harmony. And music is just another way. It's just like all of these things are avenues to our souls, right? Which is, you don't know what's going to touch you, whether it's a poem, a quote, a piece of music, and it's just a lovely combination of a lot of different kinds of input.
Yeah, the other thing that struck me is that you talked about no time limits, about the idea that this is an open-ended opportunity to talk about your experience and experiences. And of course, in our world, in our culture, there's maybe often a sense of moving on. And so this is an opportunity to say, you aren't expected to be at any particular place at this time.
Right. And sometimes things just come up. Like Eileen is on the call here. There was a discussion kind of recently about we often, as single women now, the resources that we have to try to get things done in our homes, like when we need gardeners or painters or electricians. And so Eileen was kind enough to jump on that and collect resources from everyone in the group. And now we have a sheet of resources that are recommended by people that we know. And so now we can go to those to call upon. So we whatever happens, it's not just Nancy and I who are leading the group. It's really everyone is a real vital part of it. Cindy, who couldn't be here today, is the one who started the coffees, and she maintains the email list for to remind people of the coffee. So we really are a collective, in the community.
So those of you who participated who haven't yet said anything, would you either have a comment or reflection to share?
I'm not as eloquent as Marilyn or Nancy, but once you're the fact of being in nature is soothing, and it encourages me to take longer walks, even the days when we don't get together. But getting together opens up the door to know that the other person has gone through or is going through the same things that you are. Family members are very supportive, and I'm very fortunate to have a daughter on the island, but they don't really understand what I'm going through, and they see that this is possibly having an end shortly, and I'm beginning to accept that, as Marilyn said, you have to carry your love for your special person inside of you as you go on and progress through life. I look forward to the days when I can meet with one or both of them or any of the others. I agree with the importance of sharing music and poetry, which has also opened up other worlds. Yeah, it's really a highlight. It's really an anchor to my life at this point to have these women go through the same travel and are willing to share with me.
I'd say that's pretty eloquent. Thank you.
Yes.
Elaine, did you have something to say?
Well, I'm not sure I would be as eloquent, but I do know I wake up in the morning now and think about resources. I think about the group and, something that I couldn't come up with today for someone to help with whatever. And like, we've got to add that to the list. So it's a great feeling to feel that kind of connection actually with each other. And I guess I would just say that I echo what Glenn just said in terms of nature being such a healing factor. We walk, we listen to the birds, we see the seasons change. Here up here, but it's very moving, and it's very healing, because I think it's kind of been alluded to, but grief is a very lonely journey. It changes, it gets better, gets worse, gets better, and then worse. You keep moving along, but it's so helpful to be with other women who really understand what's going on. You don't actually even have to talk about it in depth, but when you just bring up a subject, it's, the nods, the understanding of, whoa, okay, we get it, and we're here for you. And I think that the circle of caring that exists with this group is so deep and warm.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you, Eileen.
Yes. Anyone else? Susan has a comment.
Well, you guys, I've been really grieving alone. I look forward to being with you in August. I'll be up there probably for a month, and I would love to join your group. The nature is one of my go-tos for relaxation and music, but to share it with others, it never occurred to me. And when you're at a dinner party or something with friends and they say, "How are you doing?" It's not really, I'm not comfortable telling them how I'm doing, And so I really look forward to you. Thank you for your insights and your warmth.
And Susan, where do you, so you don't live on the island?
No, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's 73 and sunny. I hate to tell you that. So I'm coming up Saturday and with my parka and my, long underwear and stuff. But I'll only be there a short time, but you don't resume until April, isn't that my understanding?
Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your idea of opening this up, and if
Yeah.
people are interested, what they can do.
Yes, good question. So up until now, our group has only been open to women who have gone through IVC grief support programs. However, we have what we like to see, and what has happened is that, women come in, they make friends, they maybe a number of them find other things in the community that they're interested in doing. And so we expect women to sort of kind of come in and move out in a natural flow, right? So we're always taking in, a new woman here or there. But the IVC grief support groups have been able to expand, and quite a few women are no longer living, like don't live on the island, or they have jobs. We're getting quite a few younger women who may work during the week, so that it kind of is not a good fit for them. So we're opening it up to anyone in the community who has been bereaved in the last 2 years. And that is because we have a number of folks along the timeline, the continuum, and we want to try to have that that strength in the group of being at different points in the grief journey. And so when we have someone who's interested, Nancy and I would meet with them and tell them about our group, just as we've explained to you today, and then see if they are a good fit if they feel, a good fit for the group, them and for the group. And so, Susan, as much as it sounds like you would be a wonderful person for the group, and we might be please definitely contact us.
Mhm.
It would be lovely to have you join us for a month, but in general, we're looking for women who want to join the group on a regular basis, because part of it is, the development of that friendship over time. But that's not to say, we would welcome you joining the group for a month if you're here, okay? So that's the process. And then how you get in touch with us is actually by emailing grief@bloodellreserve.org. And that is the email that goes to Robin Gaffney, who then is in charge of all of the IVC grief programs, and then she forwards them to Nancy and I. So, but Susan, if you want to just use that email and say, would you send my inquiry to Marilyn Price Mitchell? It'll get to me, okay? Yeah.
Please.
How about any other comments or
Was
questions?
Jan Pico here? Would she?
Yeah,
Jan,
I'm
would you
here.
like-
Jan,
Hi, Jan.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, I really wanted to come just as a support, or to support what Marilyn and Nancy are doing. This is such a wonderful experience. And I'm so happy that you're expanding to people who, I was in one of the grief groups, which was phenomenal,
Mhm.
really was. But I think it's great that you're now even expanding it to people who haven't gone through the 8-week group. So
Yeah.
it's a big commitment for these guys. And it's just fabulous that you're continuing to do this. And
Thank you.
I'm hoping to make more walks, make it on more walks.
Me too.
so the grief, I put in the chat, and we'll put on the description, grief@bloedellreserve.org. And also, if you're interested in Island Volunteer Caregivers programs, it's ivcbainbridge.org. And also, there was a mention earlier in this discussion about resources, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I also want to let you know that IVC and the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center have been cooperating on putting together a non-vetted list of caregivers and also carpentry and handy help on the resource directory, biresourcedirectory.org. So that may not, if you are not eligible due to gender or or status of life partner, but still need help, then you can maybe reach out to that. But it sounds like this has been a very rich experience for those of you who've been doing it, and you anticipate sort of trying to keep the, as you were saying, Marilyn and Nancy, the organization alive with people continuing to drop in and move on as it is appropriate for them.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay, anybody else have a comment or question? I want to thank you very much for taking the time, all of you, to share your experience and to let us know about this program. And I think, as Jan said, thank you, Marilyn and Nancy, for your dedication to making this this resource continue to be available for our community. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. And I think I can speak for Marilyn too, but we just love this group. We've learned from the group and from the experiences, and we just love doing this.
Yes.
It shows.
Great.
Important to us. So thank you all. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
Thank you.
for supporting us, those of you who did that. And we'll see you next week or this week.
Okay.
Thank you.